to The Balancing Act. Now here's your hosts, Jamie Wonko and Joe Vitale.
Hello and welcome back to The Balancing Act podcast. I am Jamie Wonko. I am here with Mr. Joseph.
Hello, how are you?
It's good Vitale?
I was just about to say it's good to see everyone again, but we don't see anyone. So, my brain is utterly mashed potatoes at this point.
Yes,
so
we are, struggling through the last.
We are on the struggle bus. We put a couple episodes together.
Yeah.
But
we figured the absolute best possible thing to uplift is not only to speak to someone who is starting their own victory tour, right, of their last year.
Yes.
And also just one of the absolute funniest, no pressure, full pressure, funniest people, if not the funniest person that I have ever known, is here with us today and is going to just dazzle us.
Yeah. Well, hello. Look who it is.
Hi,
Mrs. Reckhow. How are we doing?
Doing pretty good.
All right.
To see you too.
Who wrecks the house? Phyllis.
Better than Reckhouse.
Wrecks the house.
I love it. So we are, it's awesome that you are the first other employee of our school district that is on our podcast. So you have now, we'll send you a t-shirt if we ever make them.
Awesome.
Completely. We will send them to you. All right. I'm going to try my thing again. I'm going to do my thumbs up. Okay, I figured out the fireworks.
Fireworks!
So, if you watched our last episode or you were watching, I can't believe I'm reviewing this again because I literally have watched the clip probably 15 times. I'm obsessed with it because every time I watch it, the joy that is in my voice and on my face when the fireworks happened, because I had no idea how they happened and I still don't know.
Still don't get it. It doesn't work for me.
I don't know. I think we need to. I got to figure this all out. I don't know what's going on. Apparently, I have magical powers. It's all
I just keep pressing buttons till I find what I'm looking for. That's
I like it. Yeah. So we are so glad that you were able to join us today. We're all near the end of yet another school year, but the end of this school year signifies the beginning of your final journey.
Yes.
Yes.
It's going to be a bittersweet year to follow.
Is it though?
Yeah. especially for someone like you. So let's I'm going to give a little introduction and then you can fill in the holes for me of where I might fall short in remembering. So I'm going to give a little bit of a background of Mrs. Reckhow, who officially does not prefer being called Phyllis. And so we have all sorts of names for her: Reckhow, Reckie, Reckolicious, Reckless. And so many. And to me, she is my buddy, my love, my LOML, the love of my life, my person. And so I have, of course, some reservations about how silly I'm going to try to keep it on the level here and not get too wild and crazy with you. But Mrs. Reckhow, you are finishing next year your 25th year of teaching.
Correct.
And yes, correct. And you are bringing the tier 1 energy, as Mr. Vitale and I also are. That's anyone who started before 2007. But you had a pretty interesting path to becoming an educator, and something a little bit different than Joe and I, who both, at regular graduated from high school, went to college, and then began teaching right away. You followed a bit of a different path, and were later in life to start teaching. And so can you tell us a little bit about what led you to do that, as I think it's an inspirational story?
Well, after high school, like many people, I wanted to live the high life and I didn't want to go to college right away. So I got my own apartment and, misadventures that followed that path. And after a little while, I started taking night courses. So I would work during the day. I worked in insurance. I worked in the city and the exciting world of insurance. And I worked in the city. And I just kept taking courses and courses until then I had children. So I was still taking night courses. And then at some point, I think it was Kyle was about maybe 3 or 4. I think it was 3. I started.
So you're youngest of 3 boys?
Yes.
Okay.
I started taking full time. I went there full time. And I would sometimes, if I couldn't find a babysitter, I would take him to class with me. And I would just, shh, quiet, nobody will know. Because some of them were in a big type of auditorium. So he came to quite a few fine art classes where they mostly just show pictures and, you had to identify the artist. So he always remembers that he liked that because he went to college at the age of 4.
Oh.
So that was pretty cool. And then when Kyle was 5, I graduated and then I started school. I remember going for my interview with our former principal. And back then it was so different. Now there's so many people that you have to interview with. You have to give lesson plans. You have to do a lesson. Back then I just sat around and he was like, yes, so we'd like to have you. And we have faculty breakfast. That's all I heard. I'm like, okay, I'm in. That was it. I didn't ask any questions just because I wanted the job so bad. And I didn't even know how much I made. I didn't realize I was not going to make my full salary.
But there were bagels and cream cheese, so you're like, I'm in.
It was a faculty breakfast, so I was in. Because when you first started back in the day, you didn't make 100% of your salary. You made 85, then 90.
I was also in that boat of step 0. Yep.
They made up for it with bacon and sausage, though, and
yes, and the people were cool there too at that time.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And that was my journey.
Yeah.
So I mean, I heard you started out by saying, "Oh, I got an apartment," and there were all sorts of misadventures. And I mean, can we get an example of a reckless misadventure?
I worked part time also at the movie theater. So at the end of our shift, all the people, they would say, "All right, we're gonna go to Phyllis. Call me Phyllis. We're going to go to your house and we're going to party." And their definition of party, they would steal out of the back of the movie theater about 5 foot tall bag of popcorn. So we would bring that and, beverages, and you use your imagination with those beverages. And we would just party at my house, and it was fun. We had a lot of fun.
You and the movie crew.
Me and the movie crew.
That's, for some of our younger listeners, there was probably somebody who collected the tickets, right? Now it's all digital on your phone.
I worked in the concession.
So you pop the corn?
Pop the corn, serve
Nice.
the soda, and all that kind of stuff. So it was fun. It was fun.
I don't know why I never applied to work at a movie theater, because that's all we did when we were kids was go to the movies. And I still love going to the movies.
You would go and then you could, on your break, you can go in and watch a movie.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Fun. Yeah. I mean, I do get, my wife thinks I'm weird, but I do go to movies by myself. Okay. There are listen.
Pause for a face judgment.
What? Do you face judgment? Are you really judging me? Do you think my wife wants to sit for 3 hours in a theater and watch Dune 2 with me? No. Immediately no.
I don't know, because she and I go to the movies together.
I know you have probably been to the movies more with my wife than I have in the last 2 years, which is true. I think. Wait, no, you went and saw Taylor Swift.
We went to.
You saw Mean Girls.
Yeah,
and you saw the
other one.
The Mermaid. Little Mermaid.
Yeah,
The Little Mermaid. Do you think my wife wants to go see a 3-hour sci-fi movie with me with worms and sand? No, no, she does not.
Mrs. Reckhow, would you?
I did go see that one because Rob wanted to see it. I mean, that's really sci-fi. Even though I like Star Wars and things like that, just the whole Dune thing. I didn't see the first one. Rob saw the first one. He liked it. So usually I get to pick out the movies. So I went.
Well, good. That's very nice of you. My wife was like,
good luck,
not a
buddy.
chance. Good luck, buddy.
So, buddy, I love you so much.
Yes,
I just want you, buddy, I miss you. So on the pod, I've spoken quite a bit about my transition to my new school and, pining for my friends, mostly you. And so a typical day for you and I would start with, us heavy sighing, rallying, right? Many days you would be just laying out on one of the tables in my room, stretching out your back.
Because I had the bad back, so I would just lay out on the table.
And we would just, giggle and laugh and laugh and giggle and giggle and laugh. Now it's been 2 years. I'm not saying you're retiring because we don't see each other every day, but I'm sure
that factored into it,
that had to be at least 90%. But when you think about, so you're even though you started a little bit later in the profession than some of us, and you're able to finish your 25 years, which is amazing. You were never ever angry or bitter, not really one to complain much, always really enjoying the children and so interested in them. Do you have any, do you think that just is your personality, or do you have any tips for people to try to sort of be cool like you?
Well, you have to pick your battles, obviously, and you have to remember that sometimes you can't get petty. Sometimes a kid does something to you, and in your head you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make them do homework and things like that." But you can't get petty. You have to listen to the stories. That's the whole big thing. They want to tell you stories. Sometimes you don't want to hear the stories because you have work to do, and they want to tell you this long, drawn out story, and you listen. And sometimes your eyes glaze over because the story's going a little long, and but you have to keep listening because they remember when you do that. And if they, it sounds like a cliche. I mean, there's a fine line. You don't want to be their friends. Like, you're not their peer, but if they like you, they'll work harder for you.
Yeah.
And they'll kind of champion you if something happens in the classroom or somebody acts like a real jerk. They'll say, "Stop, that's enough," because they feel a connection to you. So it's all about the connection. Yes, it's important to, obviously you have to teach and this and that, but so many of them, they don't have a parent at home to hear their stories. Parents are working. I just had a crazy conversation this past week with a student that didn't talk to me the first half of the year. And not that, like, she would talk to me if I asked her a question, but she wouldn't come up to my desk or open up or anything. So I was like, okay, you play it that way. That's fine. Not everybody has to be my best friend, And
that's my job.
A couple of weeks, like you, and not everybody can be my buddy. And she was just telling me some crazy stories. I'm like, oh my God, no wonder you don't do your homework. So you have to know a little bit about their background, but then again, it's a fine line because you don't want to pry.
Right.
Because one time I asked her something, and she said, "Well, that's really none of your business." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And she says, "I don't mean that disrespectfully." I said,
Yeah.
"No, if you want to talk about it, that's fine with me." But then
I bet you she'll be coming to find you next year.
Oh yeah, we're like buddies now. So,
Yeah.
But it's funny because I didn't talk to her the whole year, and now she wants to come and sit by my desk every day.
Yeah.
So that kind of interaction is important.
It is. Remember when they had to give you passes because you had so many kids who would want to come to spend time with you?
I got into a little bit of trouble with that. Some other teachers in other grades were just not happy with me when that happened. But we don't do that anymore because I get too much trouble.
Yeah.
But,
we all, as we teach in the same district, we deal with similar kids with similar backgrounds. And I was having a conversation with a student today, and with his mother, and we were discussing how, they did really well academically this year. They had a good support system in place in regards to planning and organization. But what I tried to impress to this student was, if we were to take that out from under you and yank out the carpet, we would see, I don't think he would achieve what he thought he would achieve throughout the year. And so I tried to say to him, look, you have your mom to thank for this. There are students that I beg for, for them to dip the pinky toe into the pool of success for their child. And they don't know how thankful they should be for the parent that double checks their work. Hey, did you hand that assignment in? Oh, this is missing. Why is this missing? There are some students that need that, and there are other students that never get that. And I think that causes, we say that this begins at home. Education begins at home.
You see a big difference from the parents that, and I know sometimes I'm not using that as a dig at the parents. Some are, speak a different language.
Yeah, no, I
working long hours, but you
yeah.
see a big difference from parental support than parents that don't.
Yeah.
That's what, you know.
Your specialty of many, your speciality, and I think I if I could say, that I really what I learned from you and what I tried to soak up from you was you are really good at loving the unlovables. Those sort of like the like that category of students. So and like Joe said, we're in a similar district, but if the numbers of where you are sort of like hard luck 80%, really solid 20%, it's a very opposite, whereas like we see a good 80% that have the support and 20% that don't. It's not as many. So it's not that there's none, it's just not nearly
Right.
as many. It statistically it just isn't.
I had a funny thing happen this week. So I have a student that comes by to see me a lot, and I never had him as a student, but we kind of made a rapport somehow. I don't even remember. And so sometimes he'll come around and he's bad. He does bad things. And so I talked to him in the hall at the doorway, and then I closed the door and went back to my class. And I said, I know he's bad, but there's just something about him that I really like. And one of the other kids said, oh, like the weed dealer on the corner. And I was like, yeah, just like that. It's bad, but you can't stop going to him.
You can't get enough. But that is you're always very, very good at finding the, what do we would say, like the land of the misfit toys, but yeah. Which is so important. Well, yeah, I mean,
I've always been, out on the edge, the perimeter, and those kids just the quirky appeal to me.
Yeah,
and it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. So what are you, how will you be marking your like final lap next year? Do you have anything planned? We interviewed someone recently and it was her final year and she had a tour t-shirt and it was
shout out to Jessica Hawk, who
my
is
teacher face
and a guest on our podcast. So we wish her all the best as she transitions to retired life.
Yeah. And she had a student at the end of every month, like cross off the month on her tour t-shirt. So she wore that
Taylor
shirt.
Swiftie.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
It was a great idea. Yeah, for sure. I bet you Sam could cook you up one of those t-shirts.
Oh, she couldn't. Like 2 minutes.
Of course. Yeah.
I don't think it's a Taylor Swift reference. I think there would be some kind. I'm guessing it's a hairband. I'm guessing it's some kind of hairband from that.
It was her. She called it her farewell tour.
Yes.
And so that was, and it had like the names of the schools that she worked at and the years and things like that. And so she would wear it on the last day of each month and then let one of her students cross off that month. Just as a sort of way to recognize and count down her final tour. Do you have anything that you're sort of looking forward to next year to kind of mark your?
I want to write. I want to. My first love. I used to want to be, before I became a teacher, a photojournalist. So what I want to do is get a book and every day write something, write a reflection about something that happened, whether it's big, whether it's small, whether it's silly and serious. So I want to, as sort of like a keepsake for me. And I always say that teachers, we fight the good fight every single day. That's my teaching philosophy.
Yes.
No matter if you're tired or you're cranky or blah, 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 you fight the good fight every day because it's worth it. And with your students.
Yeah.
So I want to go out really with a bang. I want to do I used to do a lot of different things. As these last few years, I haven't done as many crazy kind of projects as I used to do because the students, since COVID, they're kind of low. So
difficult to encourage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to do something. I want to go back to doing crazy things because I don't have to worry about what administration says because I'll be out.
That's great.
Sometimes, because back in the day when I first started, they would give you, here's your room, here's a dusty curriculum, I'll see you in June. And you're like, what am I going to do? I'm in this class, and there's going to be kids coming in, and they're going to look to me to lead them. So I'm going to try to have them drink the Kool-Aid, as I like to call it. We're going to break up the establishment. You're probably going to see me in the minutes, like censored.
There was
that's my goal, to just go crazy.
I love
that. I think that'll be I think that'll be good for you too, right?
Oh,
because
yeah.
that'll energize you and be like, you know what, I got something to look forward to. And I'm not the kind of person to like go on a victory tour and phone it in. I wouldn't be there either. I know that that's not you either. But you made a comment about, kids these days. So there was something I just pulled up from a post on Instagram. It says teachers simply cannot be engaging enough to hold the attention of kids who have a 20-second TikTok attention span. The key isn't keeping students engaged. The key is preventing them from becoming unengageable. And just from the stories that, Jamie has told me about you and the things that we're hearing about, you loving the unlovables, right? I think that goes a long way for a kid to be like, you know what, in Miss Reckhow's class, I'm gonna put forth even though it's still going to be a below par effort, at least some kind of effort is going to be put in.
Right,
I think
that
speaks to,
for. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that speaks to the kind of person that you are and the type of educator that you are. So,
you have to try to be silly. That's my tip as well. Don't take yourself so seriously, because that's just going to invite a whole lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kids don't like that.
Be good trouble. I like that.
Yeah, be good trouble.
Yeah.
And, just be yourself in front of them. I had another funny thing that happened this week. Sometimes I bring in a newspaper, which to them is like, should be in the Smithsonian. Newspaper. I think my grandmother read that once. I'm like, and I had a little transistor radio, which is no bigger than this. And sometimes I like to listen to music in the morning, or I'll listen to like talk radio. And so a kid saw it on my desk and I'm like, what is that? I said, well, it's a radio. They said it's really old timey. I said, well, it's a radio, it's a transistor. And then they said, does it play old music? And I was like, it's a radio, it's not a time machine. I'm gonna go back to the 60s and have Jimi Hendrix playing his guitar. So
does it require batteries?
It does. Wow. There's no like USB plug or anything. It's pretty cool.
Do you have Apple Music?
It has set Jamie free.
Only because it's just giving me life in a way that I cannot. I didn't realize you could get a family plan of Apple Music for like $15 a month.
I think I do, but I probably don't know how to access it.
Right. And it is, I can't even, the amount of like musical soundtracks I have been able to access and the other day I went, oh, wait a minute. Every time I pick something, do I have to pay extra? But
that's what I'm afraid is going to happen.
No, apparently no. The answer is no. So I just wanted to say about your journaling. We have a really good friend, Joe and I, that we work with now. And she has journaled every single day since she was like something like 10 years old, 12 years old, something like that. Like she has boxes and boxes and boxes of journals. And so she can look back like in this archive of her life and see exactly how she was feeling and thinking about it. And I had some like diaries and stuff when I was younger, middle school, high school. And then when I was pregnant, I journaled. So when my kids ask me something like, oh, Mom, what? I'm like, oh, I got to get the journal. I can't remember, like 12 years ago, who remembers that? So I think that I fully support it. I want to buy you a journal and I like, and make it handwritten because it's such a great thing for you to be able to. Yeah. Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
Yes.
It'll be good.
Yes.
Do you have, what are you teaching next year? Same grade as always, right?
Yes, I'll be teaching the same grade. Although I might be teaching an elective of graphic novel, which I love. I have a whole bunch of comic books at home. If I do, I'm going to bring those in, and I think that'll be something a little different. Yeah. Because now that we teach 4 periods a day, sometimes you're just teaching the same thing over and over, and it gets bored. For me. So
I don't think students realize that. Because I talk to them often about like, one of the best ways to be a better writer is to read, because you're reading, somebody else's thoughts and sentence structure. But like you can do graphic novels too, because it teaches you dialogue and personification and puts images to, there's some great graphic novels that are out there that kids can read And even so, I have a graphic novel series on the March on Selma that, I shared a little bit of there when I did a unit on the civil rights, and it's powerful for them to like put more images to the story. So I think that would be fun. Again, nothing wrong with doing something new, even if it's in the final.
I read, I think last summer, they have a Diary of Anne Frank as a graphic novel.
Yes, they do.
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you
I
have
think
any?
that would be perfect for you.
Yeah.
Do you have any
Perfect
plans
for you.
on what you want to do post teaching? Are you like going to be like, I'm gonna open a garden, or like, what are you doing? Do you have an idea?
Open a garden?
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
don't know.
I'm gonna stalk my buddy when she comes
my
home. I'll be waiting.
She doesn't realize that
With the
she's gonna
martini?
be like my assistant. My
Oh.
assistant. She's gonna be just. I hope that I just see you through my classroom window. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
is Jamie home? Can you play?
Yeah, it's gonna be like what's the guy that lives next to Tim Allen and Tim the Toolman Taylor? The guy that would be next
I
to
was
her. You'd only
thinking
see
more
like,
like Mrs.
gonna be
Poole
me.
and the Hogans, but yeah.
oh, Heidi Hogans. I love it. I love it, Mrs. Poole. That's a great
I think
reference.
I'd like to, because I'm a big animal person, so I'd like to do some volunteering,
That's
animal
great.
shelters. I don't know, do some traveling. Just recently over the summer, we bought not over the summer, sometime in the winter, we bought a camper. It's like a small camper just for me and Rob, just me and Rob's size. And we're going to take some trips. So, because he'll be retired. He's going to retire before I do in the winter. And then I'll retire, obviously in June. So it'll be cool.
Do you
It'll be
have
fun.
any places? So you'll be driving. Do you have like a bucket list of places in the United States that you want to see?
I want to go we're going to go actually in the summer to Myrtle Beach, taking the camper
Oh,
there.
nice.
Nice.
I'd like to go just like up and down, like the Eastern Seaboard. He wants to go somewhere far. We'll see. But, even that's far. Driving to Florida is far. So
Yeah.
maybe there's this donkey rescue that I want to go to because a friend of mine gave me they adopted a donkey for me. I have a thing about donkeys. My kids are like, why donkeys? Why? I said, I don't know.
They call to you. They just call to you.
Yeah.
Tell us about your animals currently living in your home.
I have 3 dogs and 2 cats. And it's funny, a couple of years ago.
Wow, that's not a lot. That's a low
that's a
number.
little bit for this house. You kidding me?
Yeah, that's low.
I used to I took one of my dogs to Jamie's school one day because you were doing, what was it, Shiloh?
Oh my goodness.
And I had a dog that looked similar, and she was just so nervous that she just pooped all over that gym, and the kids were like,
Oh my goodness.
gasped. But I'm always on the lookout for another pet.
Yeah.
So how many pets do we currently have in the Reckhow
Just
house?
5 right now.
Just 5.
Okay.
Just 5 total. I've had more. I've had a whole slew when the kids were younger, but now I have to take care of them all. Well, me
And
Rob.
what do you have again?
I have 3 dogs and 2 cats.
3 dogs and 2 cats. Okay.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite currently today?
Probably Ray is on the top of the leaderboard.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that leaderboards work. I use that with my own children, and because when people lie when they say they don't have a favorite. So I always look at the leaderboard. Well, what did Kyle do for me this week? Okay. Or Matt.
I like it.
So he didn't give me the emotional support that I needed that day.
Yeah.
There's a grandmother that I saw that has like a board of her favorite grandchildren, and it's like a top 10, and like one of them was like in the 2nd spot, and like he had gotten a tattoo, so like she switched him down to like the 6th spot, which I always and we always tell our dogs that we have. We have Darius, who's an angel, who's like leader in the clubhouse with the best dog we've ever had. Then we have Jefferson, who is the 7th best dog we've ever had, but we've only had 5 dogs. So we're putting him at 7th, and there are other dogs that will be ahead of him that have not yet been born because he is so old.
Aww.
So.
Oh, and he's really not.
Oh, it's his birthday today, actually.
Happy birthday,
even though at the date of this recording, it is his birthday. So, yes. How nice. What advice do you have for people that are, either just coming into the profession, or those of us who are kind of mired in the muck, if you will? They've been doing this for years and they're looking to maybe re-energize themselves. What advice might you have for that?
For new people, or they're just starting, look to your elders, meaning the teachers that are there. Sometimes they don't want to ask, or sometimes they think, and believe me, I've seen this at my school, or sometimes they think they know everything. But they don't know anything. So look to the people around you. A teacher, there's nothing more than we love than to tell people how to do their job. Right? That's what you should do, but in a nice way, of course. I've mentored 2 teachers in the past few years, and I love doing that. It gives me a lot of pleasure. And I guess for the people that need to be re-energized, try looking at it through your students' eyes. What are they seeing when they come in? Is your room, I'm not saying you have to spend $1 million to make your room pretty, but is your room, you have posters that maybe will attract their attention. Be lively when you get in there. Say hello to people. I used to do a thing before.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
Right. What was it called? Would you rather?
Or question of the day or something?
Question of the day or something.
Yeah.
Then they'd have to answer. They couldn't enter the class, and then I would fist pump them as they entered the class. It sounds silly, and it sounds like such a small thing, but it really, like I said, it's all about making the connection. If you can't connect to them, they're not going to. It's silly, I know, but they're not going to learn.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. There are times when you have students that you will try to connect with, and no matter what you do, you won't.
You're not going to always be successful at that. You're not.
No, Jamie, ice cream reference. Jamie always uses, we're not going to be everyone's favorite flavor ice cream. I said that in the meeting.
Jamie's my favorite flavor.
Yeah. I mean, you two, I do every once in a while. I go into the cabinet, and the cabinet I go into, I open it up, and then there's Reckhow's picture on the door of the cabinet. I'm like,
I have a mirror, and I have an 8x10 of you smiling at me, and I can't tell you how many mornings when I open my cabinet, I put my lunch, and I look, and I just stroke the cheek of a picture of you.
There's a picture of me in the other social studies teacher's room that when Jamie left, he took over, and she told me I had to leave my picture there. So sometimes kids say, why does Mr. So-and-so, I don't put say names, have your picture there? I mean, he's such a stalker. I pretend like I don't.
I know who's over there in that room, and I think he's got a great sense of humor. So I'm sure he plays along with that just fine.
Or sometimes they'll say, "Wow, you looked a lot younger there." And then I look at them and say, "Well, your hair is messy."
Gosh, what year do you think that picture is from? 2010? 2010? Nothing will thrill Mrs. Reckhow as much as, and we were just talking about this recently because years ago we had to go to a meeting, and it was like the opening day of school teacher meeting for training, and we all were sent to one school.
Was this when we went to the high school and it was like a speaker? Okay, yeah.
And it took like 2 hours to get out of the parking lot. It was like a concert venue because we all, but I got my photo taken that day. I will give it to Joe so that he can see it. He can put it up because it is, who is she? I don't know. But all I would have to do if, if Buddy was like,
thinking about it. I know what you're talking
Buddy was having a bad day, all I'd have to do is just reference that picture.
Well, that one, I'm definitely gonna snap a picture. I'm gonna snap a picture of the. I'm gonna snap a picture of the picture that's in the cabinet in her room too. I'll put up here for everyone to see, because I don't want you to think like I'm actually lying. Like every once in a while, it's like we could have lunch with you every day if we wanted to. We just open the cabinet.
Yeah.
But
I really think that part of being like successful in school, in the jobs that we do, are really to find people who can, make you or break you out of whatever kind of slump you're in by mentioning, like just saying one sentence to you, those kinds of people. It's so important. Yes. And especially we kind of, I think we talked about this. Somebody had kind of mentioned this in the fall. If you start in a building and you're just not vibing there, go somewhere else. Maybe don't leave, because we have a lot of people who leave the profession. It's like, don't leave the profession. Maybe just try another school, different school district, different grade level, something, because you really will not survive this job if you do not have your people that are gonna really pull you through it.
Yeah, I think
it's
that was
really
on
teaching is kind of a solitary job, I guess, unless you have in-class support, like more than one class a day. So you really need, because it's just you with the kids. And if it's going bad, it's just you with the kids. If it's going great, that's great. I'm glad I'm with the kids. But, you need, like you said, that support system around you, so that, when you're done with that class, you're like, oh my God, you can't believe what happened. Or you can't believe this funny thing that happened. So, it works both ways.
I think finding your people, right, is very important.
Yes. Or your person.
Yeah. Or your person.
Right. Or your person.
Yeah.
And also, like, someone who lets you, like, I'm very excitable, and I like get so fired up about stuff. And, so you have to have that person really also be able to, allow you to be like as excited as you want to be, or, as like, this is so great. And then, like, I'm going to like bully you to do all these projects with me. And then the other person's like, oh,
yes,
okay, yeah, all right. Right. Yeah.
Although I know I got in trouble a few times and I didn't realize I did it. You know what I'm going to talk about? The eye roll. Remember, I did
sometimes she would just roll her eyes at me, and I feel you. I see what but we're doing it anyway. Let's go. And one of those things I have to mention, for years and years and years, we co-chaired an evening program that I hope for you is a will be like a great takeaway. I believe it to be as much as it will be, or it is for me, and that's our evening family book club.
Yes.
And and the amount of people who read. It's like we always talk about, like, Oprah Winfrey and Reese Witherspoon and these, really big forces. But, in this township, and I think Colleen actually had said this to me, like, when I was leaving and moving schools, she said, don't be sad that it's over. Think about the thousands of pages and titles that were read because you guys thought it would be a good idea to ask people to do it. And it's so true. It's profoundly true. The amount of literature that passed through because we said, yeah, you know what? I'll show up for an hour. I'll read this book. I'll write this blurb. I'll send this out. I'll push people a little bit,
And being with the parents.
And being with the
parents. That was a big,
it
could be a book club. A lot of schools do book clubs and things, but getting the parents in there and involved, that was super cool. Yeah, that's something I'll always be glad that I've been a part of.
I had to
tell my other co-advisor that most likely this is going to be my victory tour. She was, what? You can't leave. You're the funny one. I'm like, I'm funny too.
I remember when I went on maternity leave one time, she was like, you have to come back. The parents don't like me. And I was like, that's not true. And she was like, no, it is true. You have to come back.
That's great.
I actually, I don't do it like with the parents, like in the evening, we don't, and I have to say, I pine for it. I miss it. Cause it was just like, it was that special added magic that was so necessary. Right. Yeah. But
and we do, it's called book buffet. So we have dinner with the parents, and it was last year. This lady came in with her kids, and because you can bring everybody, you can bring your whole family, we'll feed you. And we had a Big Ziti, which was a big hit with her. And it was good. And then the next time we had something different. And she was like, well, where's the Big Ziti? I said, well, we're trying something different. Then she pulled the whole big jar of Parmesan cheese out of her bag. And she said, I had the Parmesan cheese. Oh. I'm like, it was like this, I'm not talking about a little baggie full of Parmesan.
It was the Costco size one.
Yeah, it was the big one.
I mean, listen,
how much Parmesan do you use?
If you're gonna roll deep with Parmesan, you might as well just bring the whole jar.
Yes, you might as well. You don't want to be
Especially-
caught short on the Parmesan. Okay?
No, you do not. And I mean, if you got a little baggie of Parmesan in your purse, you never know what that's going to look like. I mean, that could be some bad stuff. Well, we hope that you'll be willing to maybe pop in every once in a while. Shameless plug. And
you
tell
know
us.
I love adoration. Come on.
Yeah. And let us know how your victory tour is going and update us.
Yes.
Because I think that would be
love
fun
to.
as a little regular segment. Okay, Reckless with Reckhow. Or retiring
You
with
got to
Reckhow.
recognize.
Yeah, I used to do it. I don't do it anymore. I don't know why. I'm just not. You're good at it. I'm just not good at it anymore. I used to do raps in class, and that was my handle. It was like MC Reckognize.
I like it. It's good stuff.
Her and another teacher used to have rap battles having nothing to do with like curriculum or content or anything like that, just for funsies. And then I
love to just for fun.
I'd have to judge like which one, what, who, what.
Yeah.
Really, such good.
Hers would be all like serious and full of meter and all that. Mine would be, and your face is ugly,
That's great. And your face is ugly. Is that our episode title? And your face is ugly. I think that is.
And your face is ugly.
Oh, goodness. Well, Phyllis, Mrs. Reckhow, I said the P word. We really appreciate you. Mrs. Reck, I'm slipping now. Mrs. Reckhow, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us today.
Mrs. Reckhow, I
feel I wasn't like, as funny as the build up, but I tried my best.
I disagree.
Yeah, disagree completely.
Mr. Vitale, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
And your fireworks.
Good. We're gonna get some pocket Parmesan. We're gonna be ready to go. You're gonna have it all.
I'm gonna bring the Parmesan.
Yeah, it's good stuff. We'll see you all next time on the Balancing Act. Thanks for joining us today.
And you've been listening to the Balancing Act podcast. Have a topic we should discuss? Drop us a line at thebalancingactpod@gmail.com.